Well, hello there, YouTube. I am Jeremiah Gibbs, and I have a lot of weight to lose. I'm going to give you guys today my diet for how I have lost 36 pounds on Tirzepatide GLP-1 and have not lost a single pound of muscle mass. In fact, I've probably, the scanners say that I've gained a pound of muscle mass while losing 36 pounds on a GLP-1, which is really incredible in a lot of ways, considering the fear that many have with muscle loss and the importance of maintaining muscle mass as you lose weight, especially if you lose a massive amount of weight. And so I just wanted, I shared that in a recent video that I've not lost muscle mass. And so I wanted to be able to share with you how did I do that, because what I've done is completely attainable. And it's working for me, at least. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know that this is going to work for everyone, but I have been learning a lot about how we build and maintain muscle, and so far it's working. So I want to tell you a little bit about what I've been doing. I did change my pattern a little bit over the time, so I'll tell you some tweaks that I made along the way, because in some ways probably both of them were working, or the different methods were working, but this is just kind of some of the things that I've been doing. So for me, the best way to be able to maintain getting the protein that I need, which in my case, I'm currently 294 pounds. My goal weight is around 170 to 180. That number just comes from, that is the upper end of the scale of what I was supposed to weigh when I was in the Marine Corps and still be within my weight tolerance. That's how I came up with that number. It probably amounts to about 18 to 20% body fat. If I were to maintain my weight loss and so on as I am now. So I say 170 grams of protein is 1 gram of protein for every pound of lean body mass for your goal weight. And I'm sorry, 1 pound of mass for your goal weight, not your lean body mass. So 1 pound of mass for your goal weight, which for me was about 170, 180. So I've been trying to hit 170 grams of protein every single day, and to maintain a calorie deficit. For me, I've been trying to keep under 1,700 calories a day, and that's led to me losing 36 pounds in the last just under 3 months. So how do I get 170 grams of protein while only eating 1,700 calories? Well, for me, I need rigid structures, or at least repeatable structures, not rigid, but repeatable structures. How am I going to maintain that kind of eating day after day after day after day? Because what I've learned in my life, and I think for everyone actually, it's the habits, it's the small things that you do that are going to equal long-term change. So for me, how did I get a pattern? Well, for breakfast, what I started doing was that for breakfast every day, I would eat an Egg McMuffin from McDonald's. I would get double egg and no cheese. And that was hitting in, I think it was around 26 or 25 or 26 grams of protein. It was about 375, I think, calories or something like that, to be able to eat that double egg, no cheese Egg McMuffin every day. That was getting roughly around the goal of having 30 grams of protein in any meal. So one of the reasons that 30 grams of protein at each meal is a goal is because of this particular protein called leucine. I think that's the way you say that. Leucine is a particular amino acid that when your body gets a trigger of approximately 2 grams, maybe 2.5 grams, depending on who you are, 2 to 2.5 grams of leucine at a particular meal, at a particular sitting, that triggers the body to build and maintain muscle, okay? Around 30 grams of most proteins, you're going to hit that leucine of about 2 grams. Now, if you have a particular plant-based protein, you might have to have a little bit more proteins, maybe 40 grams of protein to get 2 grams of leucine, because the amount of leucine per gram of protein is not the same depending on your protein source. But just general rule, if you get somewhere in that neighborhood of 30 to 40 grams of protein at every meal, which is my goal, then we're gonna trigger multiple times a day. We're gonna trigger that 2 gram leucine amount, and we're going to trigger muscle building multiple times per day. So that was my goal. That's what I've been trying to do throughout this entire process. So for breakfast, often that was a double egg, no cheese, egg McMuffin. It was easy. I could get it on my way to work, and it was filling. It was a good start to the day. Now, what I did over time, I still do that occasionally, but what I've done over time is I have transitioned to not eating breakfast most days and instead having a protein shake, which for me, I use Orgain 50 Superfoods protein powder. I just mix it with water and ice. Sometimes I will also add an additional scoop of about 2 tablespoons of PB2 peanut butter powder. That's just for flavor. It does add about 6 or 7 grams of protein, but that's mostly for the flavor for me. But normally I'm taking 3 scoops, which is 1.5 servings of Orgain plant protein, 1.5 servings. Each serving is about 21 grams of protein. So I'm getting about 30 grams of Orgain protein, plus usually about 6 or 7 grams of PB2 peanut butter powder protein to get me to around 35 grams of protein in one of my protein shakes. I do that for breakfast almost every single day. I do that for lunch almost every single day. Occasionally, I will have something else. Like, for example, today I had a protein bar that gives me 16 grams of protein for about 200 calories. And then I had some chicken breast that was in the fridge. And I just had some lean, about 3.5, 4 ounces of lean chicken breast. And that got me to a similar protein goal and calorie goal. But most days, protein shake in the morning, protein shake at lunch. That's going to have me, before I leave work for the day, I'm going to have had about 80 grams of protein, and I'm going to have had about 600 calories. That leaves me an additional 80 or 90 grams of protein to get in the evening while getting about 1,100 calories. So how am I going to do that? First of all, let me step back and say, for my experience is that if I do that for breakfast and lunch, I'm not hungry throughout the day. Those protein shakes while on Tirzepatide are plenty to keep me satisfied. I am not hungry at all, but occasionally I do eat something instead of the protein shake, but not because I'm hungry or full. It's just sometimes I want something different because the pattern does get somewhat monotonous for me. So usually with dinner, I just go ahead and eat whatever my family is eating. Now, if my family is eating something that's not particularly good for the diet, then I might sub out and prepare something else to eat with them. But usually I'm just eating whatever my family eats. I try to get, again, as much protein as possible, as low carb as possible, and as low fat as possible. Occasionally, I do what I call some food hacks. And the biggest food hack, certainly grilled chicken breast, like plain chicken breast, is a big food hack. Egg whites can be a big food hack. Low-fat cottage cheese can be a big food hack. But the very best food hack that I have found so far for getting your protein up, it's delicious and feels incredibly full, is I have made what I call cottage cheese breads. And you can find lots of recipes for this just searching online or checking out your Facebook or YouTube feed. Cottage cheese breads usually mean taking roughly like a half to 2/3 of a cup of low-fat cottage cheese, blending it with some fat-free mozzarella. By the way, fat-free mozzarella, fat-free cheddar cheeses, those shredded fat-free cheeses, have about 9 grams of protein for a quarter cup and only about 50 calories. That's another great protein hack. I put a handful of that shredded fat-free cheese on nearly every meal that I eat in the evenings. If I'm having a sandwich, putting the cheese on there. If I'm having a piece of meat, throwing the cheese on there. That cheese is just, it is a 10 gram or 9 gram protein shot at only 50 calories to almost any meal that I eat, and it tastes good. So throwing the cheese on there. But these protein breads that are my hack is I make about 2/3 of a cup of low-fat cottage cheese, about half that or maybe a little bit more of fat-free mozzarella, and some egg or egg white. Egg white is better for protein content. And I just blend that together. I put it on a piece of parchment paper. My experience is I usually have to spray the parchment paper with some like cooking Pam or I use avocado oil, but spray it with that oil so that it will release off of the parchment paper. But you lay it out very, very flat, and it makes like a wrap. It's kind of like a bread. And I use that for almost all of my sandwiches that I can, that kind of thing, because that one little piece is like, I forget the exact numbers, but I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 or 25 grams of protein and only maybe 150 calories or something like that. It's very low calorie and it's very high protein. So those wraps, you put that with some chicken or turkey or ham or anything in a wrap. Throw some spinach, some mustard, which is usually pretty low calorie. Throw that in. It makes an incredible sandwich. Sometimes that's my dinner substitute. But sometimes those dinners that I can eat a high protein dinner that might stretch up to 70 or 80 grams of protein and still be very reasonable on calories. And then at the end of the day, if I didn't get a dinner that brought in enough protein, then I might throw in another shake at the end of the day. To be able, that boosts me up another 40 grams of protein, 35, 40 grams of protein, depending on the content of my shake. And that then usually I'm well over 170 grams. Some days I've had as many as 220 grams of protein still while maintaining 1,700 calories. If you're eating that much protein and you're spreading it out into those like 30 to 40 gram protein chunks throughout the day, then that has been my primary hack to be able to maintain muscle. What most of the doctors and everyone will tell you is you also need to be triggering your body to keep muscle. So the best way to do that is some kind of strength training 2 or 3 times a week. It doesn't have to be particularly difficult, they say, but to give your body the trigger. Now I have given it all the fuel it needs, all the protein, the leucine, it's given all these triggers. But now I need to like actually stress that muscle to tell the body, I don't want to lose this muscle. I want to maintain muscle. And then that triggers the body to use the protein in the proper way towards those muscles. Now, that said, I have done almost no strength training while maintaining and maybe even gaining muscle mass. I'm not advising that, because what every doctor will tell you, do the strength training. I didn't do a very good job of that. I'm now getting better at it. I have weights in my office. I have weights at my home, and I'm now just like curling a 20-pound dumbbell while I sit and listen to podcasts or things like that, right? So I'm beginning to utilize my other time so that I'm getting some of my basic strength training in while I'm doing other tasks. And that's been helping me really, but that's only the last couple of weeks. So the majority of my success so far has been without the strength training. If I had done the strength training, I think I could be in even better shape. I hope that you will do better than me. But so far, incredibly successful. 30 to 40 gram chunks of protein, a gram of protein for every pound of goal body weight, and to do that with as few additional calories as possible. For me, and the reason I think I've lost what I have and maintained muscle mass is I'm getting roughly about 170 to 190 grams of protein. My carbs are usually less than 100 grams, and my fats are usually between 40 and 70 grams of fat for a given day. That ends up being less than 1,700 calories and all the protein that I need. It's working for me. I'm losing weight. I'm keeping my muscle mass. I think it can work for you, but I do encourage you a few things. Hit your 40 grams every meal. Hit your 1 pound or 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass, and try to get at your calorie reduction to a sustainable level that you can feel good about. The GLP-1 meds are fixing how your body metabolizes food, but you still have to eat the right foods. The meds, they might make you lose weight just automatically, even if you aren't intentional about it. But if you want to lose weight in a healthy way, eat the right things, get some strength training in, and you can see incredible success on these meds. If this is helping you, I would love if you would like and subscribe. If you have some hacks on how you're getting your protein in, and still meeting your goals, then put those in the comments. That will be incredibly helpful for other people on the platform. And I look forward to more updates as we take this journey together.